So I've got 18 millilitres of water here. I'm going to put that in my mixer. And I'm going to add to that, if I can get the packet open. This is probably very dangerous doing this without an apron on. I've got a 500 gram pack of royal icing sugar, so you don't have to worry about adding egg white to this. It's all already done for you. Get all of that out, and then I'm going to try not to choke on the icing sugar, and then I'm going to just pop the lid on my mixer, then a tea towel over the top, which should hopefully help with any spillage. So, and then I'm going to put it on low speed. I'm going to mix this for 5 minutes. Okay, so that has been whipping now for 5 minutes. It's best to use quite a heavy duty beater rather than an electric whisk, because they can, it's alright if you're doing it occasionally, but if you do it a lot it can run out of power. Okay, so I'm just going to scrape down the beater. You want to work fairly quickly once you've made the royal icing, because it does tend to dry out. You can put a damp cloth over it and that does keep it softer, so you can keep it for a day or so like that, but we're going to be using most of this now. Now that's actually enough quantity to do 2 cakes of this size, but I'm going to use the royal icing for something else, so I thought I might as well do the whole lot. So then we're just going to drop some on top. Now I have dusted the cake off to try and get rid of any loose crumbs. The other way that you can avoid getting the crumbs caught up in the actual icing is by putting it on really thickly. So if you put it on thickly, you shouldn't actually touch the cake. So I'm just using a sort of left to right motion to cover the top of the cake. And you also want it to be fairly thick. If you've got patches like that, you want to cover them up, because unlike a fruit cake, Christmas fruit cake, excuse me, you don't have a layer of marzipan, so you will get the actual colour of the cake coming through if you don't put it on thick enough. So that's nice and thick on top. Just going to like flatten it out slightly. We don't mind having a bit of texture on it. It is meant to look homemade. It's not a shop bought one, so just put a little bit more on there. Okay, and then we're going to start working around the sides. So I'm just going to put more icing on. I'll try and work around this side so that the camera can see, although I can't see so well. So again, just applying it really thickly, and you can either apply it side to side like this, or you can apply it bottom to top, and then you can just even out the edges afterwards. As much edge as you get on a round cake. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going with that. As it's a small cake, it's not going to take too long. These are really nice if you're looking for an unusual gift idea and something that's a bit more economic than buying presents for everyone. So you could do this for your secret Santa at work, or you could do this if you've got lots of relatives to get Christmas presents for. Just get that little crumb out, so just lift that out with the end of my spatula. So you can use a knife. You can use like a butter knife if you don't have a spatula. Slightly easy with a spatula because you've got a bigger surface to work on. Okay, so we're almost all the way around. Just make sure that it's totally sealed in. This cake will keep for at least 3 days. You can keep them for longer. If you keep them in a sealed container, a Tupperware type container, they can keep for longer. But I'd recommend eating it within 3 days ideally. Okay, so just closing the gap here. And then I'm just going to get off any excess icing that we don't need. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tear the paper here. You can cut as well. Now, if I had the time, what I'd prefer to do is actually wait until the icing's dried, because once the icing's dried, it's going to come off a lot cleaner. Let's see what I mean here, because some of the icing's actually pulling away with me. Okay, so it's not totally neat underneath, but that's fine, because what we're going to do is take a ribbon. So I've got a bit of really lovely Christmassy red ribbon here. I'm just going to put the ribbon as close to the base of the cake as I can, so that should just cover up any sort of slightly shabby edge around the base. And then what you can do is just use a tiny bit of icing just on the end of the ribbon, just like a bit of glue, and that will just hold the ribbon in place there. Okay, so then we're going to decorate. I've got 3 roses, 2 red and 1 pink, and I'm just going to place those on top. So what I'm going to do is get a dollop of the royal icing again, like that, and then I'm just going to look at how I want to arrange those. So probably something like that. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, excuse the noise outside, I don't quite know what they're doing, is I'm just going to paint a little bit of water on. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of glitter. A brush. So that's just going to really lift the whole look of the cake. A little on the bud as well. It looks really lovely and Christmassy, I think, with the glitter. You can use red, I'm just using white glitter here. And then you can do that with the other roses as well. Just sort of that frosty Christmas morning look that we very rarely get. Okay, and then I'll just do the little pink one here. So this is a bit of a smaller rose, it's got less layers. Obviously if you want to learn how to do the rose, you can have a look on one of my other tutorials. I'm just going to lift that one slightly actually. Okay, great. So now just to finish it off, I am just going to pipe some leaves. So again, there's a tutorial on my channel where I'm demonstrating how to pipe leaves. So just to remind you, just make sure that your V is in the right place when you start piping. So I'm just going to check this one here on the table. Yep, that's great. Okay, so then we're just going to pipe a leaf there. And one more here. And there we have our Christmas spice cake.